Good morning.
Morning, sir. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. How's your stuff coming along?
Um, I saw some, I Google a lot of vision statements and stuff, but I haven't changed mine to it. I'm just trying to get a feel for it of like first like figure out up here what I want to write and then put it on paper. But I've seen a lot more examples.
Okay,
I'm
good.
still I'm still kind of wondering what I want to put in there, as in like, speaking and writing things in existence, and like I am this, I am that. So I'm trying to figure out what exactly I want to be able to put that I am this, or
Okay,
I own this, I have this.
cool.
That's my main problem right now.
Yeah, and that's the soul searching, right? And it's really fake drilling down to stuff like you like to do or think that you might like to do. Since
Yeah,
you're younger, you might not have all the experience yet to make those decisions, but like looking around, like where does your energy go? Like what makes you interested? So keep an eye on that.
okay, that's a lot easier because I could just put a bunch of my interests. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. As you experience them, you can either say yes or move them off the list.
Yeah, no, experience wise, then yeah, I have a lot to talk about. I
Yeah.
just thought it was more like professional and career wise,
Okay.
because it
Yeah.
is a
No.
vision.
Yeah. But yeah. So it's a personal and professional vision, right? So those two are interweaved, and your professional one's going to enable your life. Kind of, it's going to fuel you with funding that you need, and to maybe give you some of that social need and stuff like that, and just the need to
Yeah.
create. And then your personal life obviously is different, relationships and your travel and your experiences, that kind of stuff. But they're kind of joined at the hip.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And we'll go over more of the vision on Tuesday, right? Like, see.
Yes. Yeah. We could definitely do more of that. We're still stepping through all of the initial processes, from the purpose to the passion, the vision to values and goals, and those all have to align. So we can come back and look at those again for sure.
Yeah, and they are very similar for me. Like what I wrote for each, they are somewhat connected, as you said.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. These are some cool assignments. I
Awesome.
see. I see why it's needed, because it
Yeah.
gets you thinking
It's,
about
it's
a lot of things.
foundational, right? It's like you need to do the foundational work. It's like if you were taking martial arts, you got to learn the kicks and punches, because to do the spin kicks and the jumps and the 360, you
Yeah,
got to have the fundamentals down.
100%. Yeah. Oh
you know,
yeah.
it's like
If you
anything.
do it without that, then you're in the hospital.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so give it another minute, see if some other folks show up. Otherwise, we'll just do one-on-one today.
Sounds good.
Let's see. Today we are talking about. Oh my gosh, drew a blank for a second. All right, last time we did defining with a personal executive summary. Yes, sorry.
It's been a week. Yeah, it's been a week and a half now because Thanksgiving. 2 weeks
Right, I know.
actually.
We took off, and I'm still back on the gaining clarity stuff. But it's like, oh yeah, today's we're doing the personal branding. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about the personal executive summary. And hang on, so somebody else just joined. Let them in. This Mark. Give it a second. Mark, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Great. There we
Good.
go. Good,
Yeah,
good.
we're just getting going on the personal executive summary today.
Okay.
So what this is about, this is going to start to pull together all the stuff we've been working on so far. We've been talking about your professional expertise. We've been talking about your branding statement and all the things you have to offer. So you might have done a little bit of work on this, but we're going to deep dive into this today and kind of put together a one-pager on what it is you have to offer. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys.
Got it.
Screen.
So is it just like your skill set and stuff like that?
A little bit more than that. So, tell me if you can see this.
Yep.
All right. So let me move this out of the way. All right. So what it is a one pager because we want to get succinct. It's kind of like, you know, Twitter forces you to say something in 140 characters. We're going to force you to talk about who you are, what problems you solve, your approach to solving problems, the type of roles that fit you, and your primary value proposition in one page. So got a lot of work today to do. What it's used for is to get clear on what you bring to the table professionally, as a basis for articulating your professional value to other people. When they ask you what you do, you're really, really clear. To develop your confidence, obviously, once you kind of have that direction and knowledge what value you provide to other people, it's pretty confidence inducing. And then it's going to be the foundation of the input for everything that we create from here. Meaning, you know, all that new collateral we talked about, the professional dossier, networking brief, mind map skills, 4-tier branding statement, resume, LinkedIn profile, kind of helps just kind of focus it, if you will, and say, okay, this is my message. This is my marketing message. So we start with who you are, right? And if you're not sure how to answer this, one of the things I could say don't do is like, don't identify yourself as a role. I am a communications marketing manager. That's not who you are. It's a role you play, right? I'm a salesperson. No, it's not who you are. It's a role you play. So what's underneath that? What makes you successful? What's your secret sauce, your superpowers? My suggestion is go back to your Gallup Strength Finder results if you have them, the Myers-Briggs results. You can go to the Harrison test, the ONET online. There's a whole bunch of other tests that you can do that you link to right here. So you can actually just go out, and they're usually like 10 or 15-minute tests, and it's gonna give you a whole bunch of words that you can use, and then it becomes an exercise in stringing those together. Okay. So the next thing we're going to work on after that is what problems you solve. We figure out what those kind of look like. Here's a short list. And then we're going to figure out like what your approach to solving problems are. I'm going to give you 4 different profiles today. One is going to be the social sensitive thinking approach. Sorry, get some of my. One's the logical thinking approach. One is the intuitive thinking approach. And one is a practical thinking approach. And say, okay, what percent do you are of each of those? Then you say, okay, where do you like to play? You know, it's like, this is a typical, very simplistic organizational chart. Where in this organization would you like to play? And then we're going to say, okay, what's your primary value proposition? Ask you a few questions about that. And then we're going to give you some samples of what these things could look like. And then we're going to put it all together. Okay. So that's an overview. Wow. I know that works for you. And I know it's always a short amount of time, but this is the structure, and you can always come back and fill it in.
Quick question about that, Mark. I know you mentioned at the beginning of this, some of this I may have worked on already. And I think one of the things standing out would be like slide 33. And so I ran into this yesterday. I'm trying to, and maybe this is the wrong approach, I'm trying to take what we're going over in these group sessions and recordings and seeing where different pieces apply to maybe some of the other modules or some of the previous work. I'm just trying to be organized as best I can.
Yeah. And
I'm struggling a bit to make sure that I'm having this all aligned, I guess. And so,
okay, so like this exercise today is meant to bring that together. So all the pieces you've been working on, we want to like imagine, you know, Mark with the lab coat on, advising Mark, the client, right? So you gotta step aside from yourself and say, you're really good at this and this. And it's like, you're gonna kind of do it, take all the stuff you've done, defining professional expertise, what do you love, what do you hate, who am I, the wheel of life, all that stuff, and be like, okay, we're gonna try and synthesize all that down into a one-pager, which I know is difficult because we're human beings. We have a lot of interests, abilities, and skills and so forth. But what we want to try and do is do like the Twitter version of all these things. Like, you know, it's kind of like the foundation for your branding statement. So take all the other stuff and see if you can't put it here in these 5 questions. And I'll help you with that as we do these today, okay? So let's start with the first one. And if you've done some of these tests, great. And if you haven't done them all, that's fine. It's not, you don't need to do these. They're just different ways to get assessments of your personality profile. So you have words to use for your lexicon, for your branding, and for exercises like this. So we'll take a few minutes, and I want you just to write down all of the professional words that resonate most with you, right? What if somebody were to describe you, again, putting a lab coat on, looking at you, saying what would they describe you as professionally? Give your words.
Ask a quick question.
Yes, sir.
For the Gallup Strength Finder, I did this a couple days ago, and I shared my results. The results that I got were just my top 5.
Top 5, yeah.
It didn't really give me words to.
Oh, it should have a whole like write up for each of those top 5.
Oh, okay. I'll go back on that.
Yeah, the report should have generated second, third, fourth pages, fifth pages that if you look at it, it'll tell you your top 5, but then it'll go into detail on what that means for each of those words.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good, accurate assessment. Everybody who's taken it, myself included, found that it's pretty spot on how it describes you. So borrow words from that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a few minutes and let's find those words, and then if you can, start creating sentences around them. You can't group like thoughts together. And I'll give you some guidance on that.
And you said you wanted the professional words for this, though, not so much the
Yeah. So this is going to be career-based kind of thing. So it's called your personal executive summary. So this is not your personal life summary. It's
just confirming.
Yeah. So let's try and keep them on the professional side. And again, any source could be something you describe yourself as, come from this test. It could come from your resume, your lexicon, ways other people have described you. But let's just find out what really resonates with you. And again, let's just start with like a list of words, maybe like 10 words that like you would say are your top 10 words to describe you professionally. And then see if we can group like thoughts and then create a sentence out of each of those thoughts. So let's go with the top 10 words, and then we'll take a quick pause and we'll see what you guys come up with, and then see if we can't create some sentences out of those. Just write your words first. you guys doing?
Couple more
Good, I
minutes,
think-
probably.
Oh, good. Yeah, go ahead. I think I've got, I'm good.
You good? Why don't you start, Mark, and you keep working, Kazra, and maybe you hear some stuff that get some stuff in.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. So just the 10 words, creative, organized, thoughtful, empathetic, leader, contextual, communicator, relationship developer, veteran, business development.
Great.
I can work on those, but those are
Cool.
kind of
And then
first.
maybe, yeah, see if there's some ways to group those maybe a little bit, like is there some patterns or themes? And then if you want to like kind of rank order those and like what's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 as best
Sure.
you can.
Okay.
You know, I'll give you mine. You and I are similar in some ways. I have initiator, leader, efficiency maker, tenacious, creative ideator, synthesizer of ideas, strategic, create order out of chaos, goal-oriented, organized. And if I go back to my tests, I'll probably find more words, but you know, just to keep top of mind stuff.
I'm done if you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Throw it on.
Courageous, intuitive, hardworking, kind, helper, active listener, leader, communicator, identifying problems, and multitasker.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So same thing, like see if you see some sort of patterns, themes, groups, ranking, and then let's put these into some sort of sentence form.
We're ranking them to like 1 to.
Yeah. This way you make sure grouping is let's see if there's any grouping at all that you can do.
Okay.
Like, you know, this way when we form a sentence, you know, I am an initiator and leader who synthesizes ideas and sees the big picture. I'm tenacious in making efficiencies. I create order out of chaos. I'm goal-oriented, organized, and hard worker who blah, 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 something like that, right? So we're just gonna create some sentences now. It's kind of like who you are and what you bring to the table. Like, so by doing these things, you're going to be able to help create collaboration or unity or vision or structure or, you know, revenue. It can even go deeper than that. It's like reduce expenses. Yeah, like what could those abilities help you to do? Bring people together. So maybe that's what we do now. It's like, what is that going to enable you to do? All right, let's give a quick try at these. You want to throw some sentences out?
I could go.
Yeah, go for it, man.
I just have two. I am an innovative leader who specializes in problem solving, communication, and building relationships.
Great.
And then my second one is I'm an ambitious leader who is motivated, courageous, kind, and is always looking to lend a helping hand to others to find solutions to problems.
Cool. I love it. I think you had later in there twice.
Had what?
You have leader in there twice in both sentences?
No. Yes.
Yeah, so let's consolidate that. And then what we're gonna come back and we can put a who does what, right? So the next thing that we'll talk about is the problem. So stay tuned on that.
Okay.
Mark, you got some sentences?
So I'm still grouping these, but I think it's coming into focus. So, I'm a thoughtful and empathetic leader who uses context in decision making, a creative ideator. Business development would be part of that group. I'm trying to think of how to connect those two. The next group, I guess, would be communicator and relationship development or relationship developer.
Okay.
So the grouping and the ranking that
Right.
was actually coming together a little easier than I was a little worried about that at first. As I grouped it, I thought, okay, what if the ranks are different, but they kind of naturally flow. So
Good.
And then that was just wrapping up with, I'm an organized, something about being organized and a veteran. But I think veteran can come in at the end there.
Okay. Great. Is veteran a role you played, or is that who you are? And what about the veteran is who you are?
So it's certainly a source of not only pride, but I did great work, great experience during that time, and helped shape my leadership qualities.
Okay.
As well.
But what was the veteran experience all about? Was it learning, serving, protecting? Those are the things that you're a protector, you're servant leader, stuff like that.
Okay.
So like, what enabled you to play that role? All right, so let me go to the next one. I think this adds more clarity to this now. So what problems do you solve? And these are just some that came off the top of my head. There's a ton of problems out there. So you solve revenue problems, expense problems, inefficiencies, relationship, logistics, comprehension, timing, technical, mathematical, financial, personal, leadership. There's all sorts of things that you can help with and create something better than it was before, or solve the problems around these things. And so if you come up with more, let me know, because I'll throw them on this list. This is just what came to mind for me. And I should probably express them in the problem realm, like inefficiency, efficiency, but I'm just going to keep them all positive. What kind of problems do you guys solve? Like, let's just talk about that for a second.
That's a good question.
Yeah, so and this is a good example. I feel like I've answered these questions in one of the previous modules. I'm just trying to dive through and find that real quick. Trying not to reinvent the wheel, so to speak.
And go from last week to defining your professional expertise. Like, we started with what problems do you solve, right? So take a look at those.
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna put another one on here. It's organizational. I'm just trying to I went out online. I said, like, what kind of problems are there? I couldn't get a list. So I just started coming up with my own.
It's tough. It's tough.
It's tough. Yeah, it really is.
What if you guys were to brainstorm, like, what problems do you solve that maybe either on this list or not?
I'm thinking of sort of the business development aspect. So finding, I keep getting stuck on this one phrase, but finding mutually beneficial opportunities between two interested parties. Mm-hmm. sorry, I'm trying to see here too. I know I jotted some ideas down here.
Yeah, I think this is like trying to provide some context for that, right? And it's like,
Right. Okay. Oh,
it's like,
Got
so
it.
I provide solutions to what? Well, logistical problems. I can help you get your stuff from point A to point B, right? Or
this
I
was
don't
the
understand. I provide training solutions, or project managements. Like, I don't know the timing of this dependencies and everything else. So I provide, timing or project solutions. I don't know. I'm just trying, like I said, I'm trying to categorize this a little bit so you can apply that solutions to something more specific.
This was the love, hate, good, bad quadrant exercise that we did.
Oh, yes.
Wasn't that the
right,
problems you saw?
Love.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I've got some from that. Yeah, and the first thing that was on there under good and love. So connecting interested parties, mentoring, showcasing, touring, demoing, researching, editing, ideating, all under love, bad, graphic design, character design, concept art, animation,
Mhm.
hate, internal communications, writing, but good, hate, but good, internal communications, writing, process flow, diagramming, building schedules, networking, and then bad and hate did analysis, root cause analysis, program management, business optimization, math, numbers, finance, budgets.
Okay, I see which exercise that is. The good solving. Okay, yeah.
Do you remember that one? Yeah.
Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago on Thursday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I
Our
just
first,
have organizing and stuff as well. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I had a few more on since you were talking, Mark, and I was like, oh, that's a creative problem. That's yeah. So
How many should we be looking at? Like, how many should we?
just look at your top three. Like, what do you like really love to solve? And if you can just get one, that's also fine. If you were to pick one from all the problems you love to solve, which one would it be?
And do we like elaborate on that through?
Well, now we can bring it
How
back
do
to
we
your sentence statements, your sentences from the previous exercise. It's like, so, a leader takes initiative and creates more efficiencies by bringing structure, order, and clarity, right?
Yeah.
So those are the problems, right? It's by doing what X, or who offers this or brings that.
Well, we don't elaborate on how we do it. We're just voicing it.
Yeah, this is just like, this is who you are and the problems you solve.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
sort of did. Not maybe elaborating, but at least commenting on it, where you mentioned by bringing structure, order, and clarity. That was good because you're giving some insight into how you're going about doing some of these things that you claim to be able to do.
So it's kind of like, who you are, the skills you bring to solve these type of problems, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So let's say give a minute or two just to identify like your top three. This is where I kind of categorize and rank the other stuff. It's like, let that inform like maybe the problems you actually like to solve. Like if it's leader was number one, then maybe you bring problems to lack of leadership or lack of vision. You can actually say lack of to any of these things, right? Lack of.
How would you go about it saying like let's say relationships is one of mine? How would I say I specialize in relationship what? Like, because if I say I specialize in relationships, that
No, you don't say I specialize. I am a empathetic, compassionate, and open-minded person who facilitates connection and deeper connections and relationship between people. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
So what are you actually doing? What is the solution you're bringing based on who you are?
By relationship, I mostly mean like being a middleman in bringing them together. I don't know if that falls under the category of relationships.
Yeah, it could be connecting people, who connects people. It doesn't, you don't even have to say relationship. Who connects people, who finds common ground between disparate stakeholders, or, you know, I mean, you could say something like, you know, just like what's the result of what you're doing, creating more understanding, looking for the common ground, creating connection, enabling understanding between others, you know. You know, for me, I like coming in when there's like literally only resources and there's like no order to this. So it's truly creating one out of chaos. It's like seeing patterns and themes. I'm able to see patterns and themes to bring order to chaos, for example. You know, if there's like 8 different things on my desk, it's probably going to get reordered somehow. So it's like, oh, this makes sense where I can reach that, and that's going to be there. And I apply this logic or this organizational ability to create more efficiency.
And I thought that I was reasonably good at that. I'm learning through going through these exercises that I'm not. That's good.
I'm sure you're better than you think.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I wouldn't list it as a skill.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know you think you are, but you probably are. And now it's just like you're questioning, which is good. You know, how can I get better?
Right.
And you probably are quite good at it. And it's just like now you're throwing it back open. So, well, okay, how can this get any better? I used to think I was good at relationships until I started working with a couples coach. Realizing how much I really needed to work on still.
Right. So, could you? I think I think Kazra and I both had similarity there, where we mentioned kind of the connecting interested parties. Maybe we could work on the wording of that a little bit.
Yes.
A better way to say that, because it doesn't necessarily need to be 2 different companies. For example, that could be a good example of cross-functional, departmental oversight, or you know, serving. I'm seeing a lot of themes from account management, program management, business development, some areas that I've spent time in, but where those skills, I think what was good about it, what I enjoyed about it, is kind of bubbling to the surface here as we're talking about this.
So what are you creating there? So when you talk about connection, you're creating common ground, common vision, mutual understanding. You know, what are you using your abilities to create in that relationship connection?
I just put mutual understanding, common ground between others to push through an agreement or deal.
Okay.
Like Mark said, it doesn't necessarily have to be an agreement or a deal. It could be in any other aspect as well. But that's what I went with.
To come to agreements, you know, who find common
alignment.
Yeah.
Alignment.
Alignment's a great word.
Yeah.
And as I keep saying over and over to everybody, this is a word play. Everything's a word play. You know, it's how we communicate.
That's the tough part.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's identifying the right words, right? And then using them in the right context.
Yeah.
So if you have those 2, you're probably going to start to resonate with the people who get that, right? You know, I think all of us said creative in leadership or something else like that. So there's some of our common ground, right? I get that. You know, you're talking my language. And other stuff we're not. If somebody said mathematical, I'm like, yeah, not me. You know.
Nope.
So
I'm out.
What?
It said math. Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah. So it's like when we start talking other people's language, we can create that connection and community and camaraderie and understanding, because it's like, oh yeah, I get that. You know, we're kind of expressing concepts and themes with these symbols, which is essentially what these are. And we have these symbols that we got to kind of put in order so that you can identify with somebody else's symbols and find that connection, right? So I can't really know your experience and who you are because you're you and I'm me, and I can't read your mind. I can't feel what you're feeling, but I can relate in terms of, well, these are my experiences, my feelings, and this is how I represent them. So these are representations that we want to get across to people, these concepts, and say, here's what I'm all about, this is what I can do. And if you say those in the right order, in the right way, they're going to go, oh yeah, we need you.
Right.
Which is the resume, the interview, and LinkedIn profile. It's like, that's what it is. You know, and you see a position or a role that you, oh, I can absolutely do that. They don't know that. They don't know you from Adams. And you say, I can do that. They're like, sure. You know, but the person who expresses themselves the best on the resume and the interview and LinkedIn profile is going to get the offer.
Yep.
Right. Which is why we're doing so much work on this stuff. You know, you're like, why we spend so much time on figuring out the exact words, because that's what's going to get you the stuff that you want. Not only in jobs, but in relationships and everything else, right? So I'm going to come back to the relationship coaching thing. It's like the words I use them and how I use them and how I express them will directly influence what's reflected back to me, you know, and I get a lot more loving intimacy connection with my fiance when I use those words that she resonates with at the right time in the right context. And so it is the same thing. It's dating and relationships and love are really similar to career. Like people tell me all the time, it's like, yeah, it's like a dating app. You got to find the perfect mate, and you know, then we gotta, you know, get hooked, and it's like it's the same thing. You got to find the perfect job, and you get that person who's hiring you. There's your, you know, future boss / mate, and it's like, you know, it's the same thing. You got to convince them that you're gonna be a person that's going to be of value to them.
Yep.
All right. So you have your top three.
I'm working on the
yes.
last one.
Okay. What about you, Mark? What you got?
Yeah. So and again, I'm trying to come up with a better way to describe this, but the connected, interested parties is one, creating, ideating, and then showcasing, demoing.
To capture ideas, synthesize and capture and synthesize ideas that lead to, I'm just throwing stuff out there, you know.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Cool.
This is going to be a good session, I think, to go back to and listen to a couple times, trying to pull all this together. Not that the others haven't been, but this especially.
Yeah. All right, so let's just leave this in draft form for now, and we'll come back to it. So the next thing is like your approach to solving problems, and this might help also when you're thinking about like, how do I string these things together? And there's 4 types. This is social sensitive thinking, logical thinking, intuitive thinking, practical thinking. And I doubt everybody's 100% of any one of these things. So let's go through these, what these quickly are. So the social sensitive is, you know, you consider others in the situation. You're guided by your own personal issues. You're compassionate. You assess the impact of problems on other people. You want everyone to be satisfied in the situation. Others call you caring or compassionate. So that's the sensitive part, and you're kind of socializing your thinking, right? So, and you can read the paragraph in a moment. Let's get into the bullet points. So the logical thinking is you're analytical. You look for possible solutions to problems. You rely on good judgment. You're reasonable. You have a good common sense. You want everybody to be treated equally. There's justice in that. You develop solutions and then choose the best options, and you remove yourself emotionally from the situation. Just should put that in back so we can see it better. Okay, next one is intuitive thinking. So you consider the future, you communicate creatively, develop imaginative solutions. You reach solutions quickly based on your hunches. So there's the intuitive part. You look for similarities in other problems that you needed to solve. So, oh, well, I've done this before. What can I pull up in here? You need the problem to make sense to you. You're able to see new possibilities, and you see the big picture. And the practical thinking is you stick with something, you're kind of tenacious. You focus on what's really happening. You trust your experience from previous problem situations. You trust the facts rather than other people. You're perceptive. You're able to remember specific facts. You understand the ideas through practical applications, and you carefully work towards conclusions. So, you know, you probably have bits of all of these. If we can,
it's like that they all resonate.
They all resonate, right? which ones resonate the most, you know, and again, this is, maybe you can just like go through and say yes, 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 and see how many of these bullets actually you say yes to, and go back through and read the paragraphs. Actually, we're reading right now. You want to find the best answer. Voice factor, you should try to put yourself there. Okay, so you know what? I just put this in paragraph form at the top. Sorry, forgot. So it's pretty much the same what the bullets are. So this one's using style, preferred weight, costs, benefits, gut level, take information is clear and real. You know, and if you were to say, am I more practical or intuitive, you know, which would you say? If you're more logical or sensitive, which would you say? And then like drill down into each of those and just like see if we can't come up with just a general ratio. It might be 25% each.
Probably, honestly.
So
yeah, I think so.
Take a look at sensitive first, and then we'll go to the next one.
Could you just go back to 28 so I could just write the 4 down and then easily?
Yes, 4, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's social sensitive, logical, intuitive, practical. Okay, so remember the social sensitive. Considerate to others in the situation. See, like I'm not, you know, that's not like really me. And you guys might be much more autonomous than I'm like, you know, this is what we need to do. So I know for me that bullet doesn't really resonate. And that's not good or bad, it just is. But I am guided by my own personal issues. I don't know how compassionate I am. I like to think I am, but honestly, I'm probably not as compassionate as I think. So I'm going to give myself that. You assess the impact of problem on other people. Again, I'm going to say I'm scoring lower on that.
Are we doing each bullet point or are we doing like?
I'm just trying, I'm going through and I'm seeing how we can best do this. So maybe you give yourself kind of a plus, a dash or a minus for each of these, and you see how many you actually have. I'm trying to come up with a way where you can come up with a percentage wise.
Yeah.
I'll just call you caring and compassionate. And you want to make sure everybody's satisfied in the situation. So just quickly go through, put a plus, minus, or a dash for neutral. And let's do the next one. Logical, you're analytical, plus, minus, neutral. You look for possible solutions. You rely on your good judgment. You're reasonable. You have good common sense. You want everybody treated equally. You develop solutions and then choose the best options. You move yourself emotionally. And then intuitive. You consider the future. You communicate creatively. Develop imaginative solutions. You reach solutions quickly based on your hunches. You look for similarities of other problems you've needed to solve. Problem needs to make sense to you. You see new possibilities and you see the big picture. So for me, like this one resonates more than the other one. So this is going to be a higher percentage. Yep. All right. Practical. You stick with it until you find a solution to a problem. So you're tenacious. You follow up what's really happening. You trust your experience from previous problems. You trust the facts rather than people. You're perceptive. You're able to remember specific facts about the problem. You understand ideas through practical applications. You carefully work towards conclusions. All right, so go back through and see how many kind of pluses you have on social sensitive, logical, intuitive, practical. And just like, you know, again, you're going to come back to this later and take a look, but just a quick initial percentage wise, what would yours be? You know, let's go with what comes to you.
Are we sharing or are we just putting it down?
Put it down first and then we can share if you want to.
Okay.
Okay.
So I've got mine if it's helpful to share that now, or we can wait.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm going to give this a quick shot myself. Asking you guys to do it. I should do it too. All right, Mark, what you got?
So social 35, the social sensitive, 30 to intuitive, 25 to practical, and 20 to logical.
Okay, cool.
And I'm saying that, realizing too that that's maybe our general understanding of looking at this could possibly even be different. And I think that where you are in life in different times probably affects this too.
That's great observation. Yeah. And one of the things that you could do is like literally take a highlighter to all the plus things and like bring those back into your, who you are kind of statement.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a really good one.
All right, Kazu, what you got?
So for social sensitive, I have 20%. For logical thinking, I have 30. For intuitive thinking, I also have 30. And then for practical, I have 20.
20. So your two guiding ones are logical, intuitive, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
And like those two, all the bullet points basically resonated with me.
Yeah.
Much more than social and practical.
Cool. And Mark's are social and intuitive. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Good. Let's keep moving on. So
it's funny that played out. If I could real quick, if I had to choose what you would prefer to be, I would think logical and practical. That's something you'd want to strive for. But those one,
So
one of my two highest.
What's your social ideal? Like people will tell you should be this way, and then you're like, well, that's not really out.
Right.
And I felt kind of bad telling you guys I'm not like the social guy. But it's just like as I'm looking, I was like, no, it's not it. For me, it's much more intuitive. I just trust my gut kind of thing more than anything
100%.
else. Yeah. All right. So now just pick a couple of places in this org chart where you think you would fit the best. So the top line is leadership. Middle line, there's cross-functional. And by the way, this is not exhaustive at all. Organizations vary wildly, and this is just kind of a generic organizational chart. And then really it says leadership role, a cross-functional role, a line role, or support role. Those are the four types, right? So if you go to line roles, we have business and technical, going from design all the way to customer service. So if we're thinking about creating something, a process, a service, a product, we're going to design it, we're going to have product manage it, we're going to have development, we're going to have testing, we're going to have people operate it, people market it, sell it, develop business, partnerships, managing accounts, do customer service. And again, there's stuff like procurement and sourcing and other things that are not on this. So you would have to put those in. But it would get really, really crowded if I put every position that I've ever heard of in this thing. So it's just kind of generalization. And the support stuff is like going cross-functional as well, but it is more support role. You're not kind of leading or building, you're helping the organization become more efficient and to actually operate. So you got HR, IT, finance, R&D, legal, and just circle a couple of places where you would probably think you fit in best.
Two questions, if I may. One, is it possible if we could zoom a little?
Oh, yes. It's
so tough to see.
This.
And second question would be, it says what type of role fits you? Are we talking about now, or are we talking about where we see ourselves in the future?
Let's go for now, right? Like, because you want your next role right now. And then, what you ascend to, hopefully, is, more leadership type role. Not maybe hopefully, but that's, what the traditional path ladder is. But, you might not want to. I used to work with a gal long time ago when I was doing men's retail and Macy's back in New York. And she'd been in a sales leader position for 30 years. She said, I'm happy. This is where I want to be. I don't need to grow anymore. It's like I like working with the public and to manage stuff and inventory and everything else. Like, I don't need to do anything else. That's cool. But people are like, I need to be the CEO someday or own my own thing. And that's cool too. But where you want to be, or where right now, or where within this place we might play. So Mark, I know you've got thought of this before. You're more in the marketing, creative communications. You know, again, communications needs to be in here, right? It's like, where is that?
Yeah, I mean, communications is kind of like business, and you can apply it to all of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking at this where I've done this exercise before and seeing what stood out. They're still the same. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because what would you say if you were to pick 1, 2, 3?
So I just it's going to be in the line category, and then operations, business development, and customer service.
Right. So you're more towards external facing, right?
Oh, and my apologies. I hadn't said what they were. I'll come back to mine. Cosra, please.
Oh, okay.
Go over yours.
I just personally, I have no idea, but those three, I think I could do well in.
Okay, and it makes sense from what you said so far, you know, with the relationship building and everything else. That's, you know, you can focus that internally as well as externally. And something for you to think about is, would you want the variety of talking to new people all the time? Or would you want to develop deeper relationships with internal stakeholders, right? And so that might be something you want to consider is like, yeah, now I want to go out there and talk to new people all the time, learn new things, have variety. Or I'm like, no, I want to really get deep with people and really get to know them and work with them internally and the same people over and over again. That's the internal external part of it.
I guess it's a mixture of both, honestly, because I think I would get bored with just going deep with one person that I don't necessarily really care about since it's work related.
Yeah.
So I think a mixture of both, but like probably new people.
Okay. And again, something else is not on this is like a training role. You know, you'd probably be dealing with the internal folks to figure out what to teach, and the external folks with doing the education and training, right? So I apologize for this not being exhaustive, but there could be roles that satisfy that as well. Yeah, cool. But it's a good observation. You should write that one down. Go ahead, Mark.
So I primarily was in the line category as well. So product management, marketing, business development, account management. But I did also highlight R&D under support, and above with X functional. I don't know that I like necessarily being in this area, but all three of them I've got experience with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I circled all three.
Yeah, don't go with experience. Go with what you think you would really enjoy. You know,
okay. Then
yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna take those out.
Yeah, for me, I enjoy
functional.
seeing what's going on in the whole business. You know, what's going on in design all the way to customer service. So I kind of see the big picture. Some people don't. It's like I just want to like perfect what I do really well. You know, and those are other things to consider when you're thinking about the next role. It's like, what do you really love to do? What are problems you love to solve? Who are you? That kind of stuff. That's why we're doing this. All right, so let's keep moving on. I know we're crunched for time today, and this is big stuff. So now we're going to come up with a primary value proposition. This is literally a one-liner, like what skills and abilities do you love using? These are questions to ask yourself. What business problems you love solving? Go back to defining professional expertise. What markets do you want to serve? You know, what matters to you? You know, for me, I was in the TV industry stuff. It didn't really matter to me. I didn't care. It's like, I don't really want to serve that market because I wasn't helping anybody except watch more TV, and that sucked. So be aware of that. What would you want to be acknowledged for? Like, what do you want praise for? You know, like being famous for, and be known for. What impact do you want to have? And why would a hiring manager want to hire you? That's ultimately the value that you're going to have. And so I just pulled these off the net yesterday real fast. There's tons of them. Again, it could be a sentence. It could be a couple sentences. I help nonprofits leverage technology to automate workflows and make administration more efficient. And that's great. If you have experience, you know that. But if you don't, you could say something, you know, higher level. I'm dedicated to transforming companies, departments, teams, projects, services experience by focusing on customer experience, right? That could be applied to a lot of different things. I'm a fearless, digitally driven, global savvy brand leader with 15-year experience. And you don't need to say how many years experience this person did. You know, representing exciting, influential consumer brands. I live for opportunities, deliver game-changing digital global marketing programs, again, these are specific. So for Cosmo for you, it's like, what impact do you want to have? Really focus on those questions rather than on the specifics, right? And yeah, I'm going to leave this up to you because this is like something you guys sit there and think about for a little bit.
Yeah.
But when you're done, this is what we want to do. We want to create a one pager. You know, the sentences we start, you know, who you are, professionally speaking. Go to the problems you love to solve, right? So I love solving these type of problems. What's your approach to problem solving? Well, we did that percentage, you know, so I'm an intuitive and logical thinker who likes to, you know, whatever, on how you solve problems. You can talk about your methodology if you want. And the roles that type fit you, okay? Just go back to that and think a little bit more. If you were to be in a company, where would you want to be? Would it be external, internal facing, product or service? Would it be a big company, small company? Would you be doing a startup? Would you be wearing many hats? Like that kind of stuff. And then your primary value proposition as best you can, come up with literally a sentence. So what we can do is when you put this together, send it to me, take a look. We can, I can do some stuff offline with like tinkering with this a little bit. And this is something certainly, Cosmo, when we do our sessions, we're gonna get into this and really hone it for you.
A question I had for the primary value proposition for that. So we're basically answering that as a whole, like all the.
Yeah. So you're saying if I were kind of going to go to a company and say, this is what I can really help you do, like this is like your value add for them, why would I hire you? And it's that last question. It's like, why would a hiring manager want to hire you? Well, because I do this. You know, you wouldn't go to a cobbler or shoe cobbler if you wanted your shirt fixed, right?
Yeah.
Why would they want to hire you? Well, because I could solve these problems. I could solve interpersonal problems. I provide the glue between technical and business departments. I'm able to synthesize a lot of ideas and get it out so people really understand what's going on. I'm able to create more efficiencies and make processes better. I'm able to identify new markets and open them up to the business. I'm able to see and recruit talent to make this organization better. So any one of those could be a specific thing that a company would want. And you're saying, hey, I'm the expert in that. I'm really good at doing this. Hire me for that. Right. And then all the collateral we'll create later on will align with this and say, okay, this is who I am. This is my brand. This is the problems I love to solve. And I'm really good at solving it. Here's how I solve them. And it's kind of all in alignment. So when I talk to you and I hear the same messages over and over again, yeah, this guy gets it. He knows how to solve this problem. And you know, you can be a generalist, but organizations generally don't look for generalists unless you're really going high up. You got to do a lot of things like a chief operating officer. They need to do a lot of things, right? But unless you're going for that type of position, you really want to focus in and say, here's the value that I can bring. Doesn't mean you're going to do that the rest of your life. It just means that this is how I'm going to get in the door because I'm going to give so much value and so much more than my competitors that they're going to say, yes, you know, we need you.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a lot
right,
of
so your homework is to put together a one pager based on those. Go back to the beginning. 5 things. So it's literally a quick paragraph on who you are, quick paragraph on what problems you solve. Your approach to solving problems could be very short, could be bulleted. The type of roles of you, again, could be bulleted. And then if you can come up with like a sentence or a couple of sentences that really encompass your primary value proposition, and then look at it from the perspective of if you were pitching this to somebody, what would be like, holy shit, wow, about you.
Okay.
So Mark, can you share this deck with us as well as the recording? And to that point, I know we were touching base yesterday about one of the other ones. I got that you sent the deck over, but I had to send a request to you to access it afterwards.
Oh, you did? Oh, yeah. You know what?
So,
I know why, because I got to check the box that is open to anybody. So I'll check that box. Sorry about that.
No worries. But we may need to do the same thing for this one then too when you share that. Yep.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, because at the bottom, I think it defaults to that you have to, like, it's restricted access, and then okay. Thanks for the
no problem. Yeah, this really helps being able to go back to the deck that themselves and go through it for sure.
All right. Any other questions you guys have?
Well,
I know you will get deeper on this stuff, and it's not easy, but this is the work that most people don't do, right? But when you come out the other side, you're going to be so much more articulate. You're going to be so like clear that people will get that, and you'll be confident, and you'll have your verbiage together, as well as different forms of collateral that other people aren't using, and your traditional stuff will be really, really aligned. All right, guys. Thanks. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys.
thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.
Take care, guys.